So I'm very pleased to welcome you to the next installation of our webinar series, which is all about understanding the student and counselor experience on Cialfo. And I know I've been having conversations in my capacity, speaking with colleges and universities about getting involved in supporting this global community. And we'll show you kind of where that footing is around the world in a moment. But I think in order to really understand the value of the community and the network that we have, as well as the innovative platform that we utilize with students and counselors, it's important to know what those students and counselors actually do on the platform. And so that's really what today's session will be all about. I have some amazing fellow panelists that I'll be really pleased to introduce. Just to give you a sense of what to expect in today's 45-minute or so session, I am Ryan Fleming. I'll be introducing myself presently, along with my two fellow panelists, whom you can see. We'll then be taking a look in order at understanding the student experience on Cialfo, as well as getting some insight from the counselor perspective. There's a diversity of practice around the world in terms of how international high schools are leveraging the Cialfo platform to help students and to guide and shape their educational, academic, and career journeys. And so we'll be learning from the experts. Don't take it from us. We'll be going right to the source and getting some amazing applied insight into exactly how that process works. And we do invite you at any point during the session, if you would like to ask a question or seek clarification on something that's been mentioned, please do feel free to utilize the question and answer, the Q&A feature at the bottom of your chat. You can just populate those as we go, and we'll be monitoring that, and we'll be happy to cover those at the close of the session. So without further ado, my name is Ryan Fleming. I am a regional director here on Cialfo's US team. Actually just joined the company very recently in August. However, I have been in international education for 13 years. I started actually working at a public university in Ohio way back in 2011, which feels like a long, long time ago. But my heart and my origin story is really in student services as well. So I'm really excited to, get to share this insight with you all and learn alongside you how students are using Cialfo. I then joined the private sector back in 2015 and have held roles at a few different leading international education consultancies since then. In my current role at Cialfo, what my role is all about is helping colleges and universities to engage with this very community of students and counselors who are leveraging the very systems that you're going to see and hear a lot more about today. I'm joined by my fellow panelist and fellow Cialfolk, Kath Huang. Kath has spent the past 5 years contributing to the success of Cialfo as we've grown. She began her journey with us as a customer success manager, handling clients in Asia, as well as the Europe, Middle East, and Africa region, where she ensured strong relationships and client satisfaction with K-12 schools and counselors. Today, she serves as the Associate Director of Client Experience for the Rest of World region, no pressure, Kath, where she drives strategic initiatives and leads global client engagement efforts. What Kath is really good at and her expertise is in enhancing the user experience and delivering impactful solutions. I know just in the short time that we've worked together that she's really passionate about enhancing client experience and also supporting educational institutions in their digital journey, interacting with our community. So welcome, Kath, and thanks for having you here. We're also finally joined by Ms. Michelle Duchang. Michelle has battled Turkish traffic to be here today, and we're really appreciative of her joining us and lending some moments of her expertise. She has over 3 decades of experience in international education. In her 13th year as Director of International University Counseling at Hisar School in Istanbul, she currently oversees the comprehensive career and university application support for approximately 550 students in grades 9 through 12. Prior to her role at Hisar, she served as the Associate Director of Admissions at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, where she played a key role in establishing recruitment strategies for the first ever coeducational university in Saudi Arabia. Prior to that, her earlier experience in the admissions office at Boston University saw her managing the recruitment and selection process for a diverse pool of around 4,000 applicants annually. Michelle is committed to fostering student success in what is an increasingly globalized educational landscape. So I'm so honored and thankful for these two experts joining me. I have a limited but important function as your host, but it's really about equipping these two to share their insights with you all. And so we're excited to dive in. Before we do so, just a quick word about Cialfo. We were founded in 2017. We have over 200 employees worldwide, and we're a fast-growing ed tech company and a student-first career exploration and college application network. We are a technology platform technically, but it's really about empowering that community of students, of counselors in high schools around the world, and of guardians and parents and families to equip students to make the best academic and career choices. Our name, Cialfo, is actually an amalgamation of the Olympic motto. And with the Olympics recently concluded, maybe this is on your mind, Citius Altius Fortius is a Latin phrase that means faster, higher, and stronger. Obvious Olympic applicability. And for us, it really means that we're enabling students to become better versions of themselves through finding the right fit educational opportunities. So we support high school students and their counselors throughout the early career exploration and college search and selection process. We help students and actually everyone who supports them, their counselors, their parents, and increasingly colleges and universities themselves to engage together in this community to help advance the best fit solutions for students. We're a trusted partner for over 1,000 higher education institutions in 50 countries, as well as counselors and leaders at more than 1,000 high schools globally in 105 countries. And our mission, again, no pressure, is to make education accessible to 100 million students globally by 2030. And it's easy to say globally and not really articulate what that means. So you can see here the strength of our network really coming from India and China. We do have a strong representation in Turkey, and I think you'll see a diverse uptake around the world in very distinct geographic regions, different academic, cultural, social, economic contexts. And so some of the experience that Michelle is going to relate is so insightful because you're going to get a view into exactly how it's done in a particular market, in a particular case study, keeping in mind that this may not be universal practice everywhere. But it's so important to know, kind of as the rubber hits the road, what that looks like at the individual school perspective. So really looking forward to Michelle's portion today. And with that, I'm actually going to pass the baton and the slide deck over to my colleague, Kath. She's got some really exciting material to share and look forward to hearing from it. Thanks, Kath. Over to you.
Thanks. Thanks, Ryan. Hi, everyone. As Ryan mentioned, I'm Kath, an Associate Director of Client Experience. I've been in Cialfo for a little over 5 years now. So for those who work in startups, that is a lifetime. So I have spent a lot of good time working with high schools, counselors, and students, and I really do enjoy it. So welcome. And today I'll be talking about the student experience. And while you can do a lot on the student experience or a student using Cialfo, I decided to highlight 3 key features I think would be of most interest to you all. So let's go to the next slide. So we'll be talking about the University Quest, our onboarding questionnaire, our Discovery Center, as well as our University Search and Sage tools. So diving straight into the University Quest, this is actually an onboarding questionnaire, and every student has to take it the first time they log into Cialfo. So it is a way for students and counselors to assess and understand their university or college readiness. We tried to make it in a fun, social, informative way, and it really does hit 3 key things. Firstly, like I said, to gauge their readiness level, but also, and more importantly, spark conversations with both their counselors and their families, as well as motivating students to do that. So we ask questions about choosing countries of interest. So in our quiz, we've put it as realms of interest. And we also try to provide sort of targeted guidance. We have a section where we show students things that they should avoid doing, encourage them on things that they're already doing, as well as things that they might need to look into. We've also put in a social aspect to it. So you can see in my second screenshot here, when a student takes the University Quest or finishes it, they're assigned an animal persona with those sort of directives that I mentioned earlier, but they're also able to encourage other classmates that haven't been able to answer it yet, and also send kudos, or I guess if we're using a Facebook term like a like, you can also send a kudos to a classmate, and they can also see what levels their classmates are. So it sort of puts that competitive edge. Thinking about the counselor side, counselors also always have access to all the responses that students have, because it also helps them with their counseling sessions and face-to-face sessions with their students, as well as access to it on their reports. So let's take a look at how it actually looks like. I put a GIF here for you guys. So this is how a student's University Quest looks like when a student answers it. So we ask them questions about their citizenship, their academic system, as well as what result they think they have gotten, or maybe they have their transcript and they know what they got in the past year. We ask them, when do they plan to go to university? If they're a gap year student or not, if they're interested in applying abroad, where they're interested in applying abroad. And we also help them rank it, right? Because this also helps counselors understand, okay, what's your first choice country? What's your second choice? We ask them about scholarship. So these are a lot of questions that support the counselor's work, as well as, if students haven't started thinking about it, we're helping them to start thinking about it, right? This is also where they can have those conversations at home as well as at school. We're almost towards the end. So we also ask them, for schools in their shortlist, have they actually started applying to it, or will they be applying to it? And then we give them their animal persona. So you can see here the focus area, where to embrace and avoid. And then they're finally led to the platform where they can do their university search. We actually sort of suggest to them, okay, let's start looking at the university search to begin thinking and getting those wheels turning. Some quick facts for you guys, because we know, or you guys will now know that Cialfo is a very student first as well as counselor first focused company. So what I mean by that is when we were designing our university quest, we did conduct in-person interviews in our HQ in Singapore with students from Cialfo using schools. So we did take their feedback, we brought them to the office, had interviews as well as testing. And on top of that, we also ran a beta test in July, so during the summer break, and the results were quite good. We had an 88% completion rate, which is, without the context, it might not be, oh, why isn't it 100? But this was during summer break. So that actually means that we now know students are still logging into Cialfo during their summer break. And around 6,800 seniors, so graduation year of 2025, have completed the University Quest so far globally, so worldwide. And around 10% have given kudos to other classmates for finishing the quiz. So this is an example of the Applying Alpaca. We give them a short summary of what the Applying Alpaca is, what should be their focus area, as well as what they should start embracing and doing, and what they should start avoiding. So at Cialfo, this is a little bit, I don't know if it's considered as an inside joke, but these are all the animal personas and we love them a lot. So if you guys are able to look at any of the animal personas, you can let us know in the chat which one is your favorite. Personally, I like to be an Applying Alpaca just because it's really cute and he's an astronaut. For most Cial folks, even if it's the lowest level, I think they all really like the curious capybara. And one of our team will be dropping in the chat a help article if you're interested to know more about the different personas, and you guys can check that out in your free time. So ultimately, the students will be assigned a level when they first log in, but as they do different actions on the platform, they'll be moving up. So for example, a student only has not done much on their platform, they might be an exploring elephant. But once they start to put universities in their list on Cialfo, they'll be moving to a list building leopard and then an applying alpaca and so forth. I will move on to the next one. So for the Discovery Center, I'll be showing you guys this live on the platform from a student perspective. But as a summary, the Discovery Center is really the area where students and counselors are able to begin that sort of university search process. They have access to different content from universities as well as Cialfo, which include videos, articles, and study guides. So for universities, it's a really good area to get at the forefront of students. And this is also where universities are able to be connected with the universities if students are interested. So they can connect with universities through that aspect. But if we go to the platform, so let me know if you guys can see my the Cialfo platform, yeah? Okay, perfect. So right now I'm in the home page of a student. And like I was saying earlier, front and center, Discovery Center is at the top. And we have these quick links that lead students to go to each section of the Discovery Center. So you have their videos, our careers library, country and study guides, or any helpful articles that revolve around the application process or the country. So if I click study guides, you can see here we have different study guides to studying abroad. If I click view all, it will lead the student to the Discovery Center itself, where students can freely search. So I've taken out the filter for now. So for example, something that we've seen students do is they might not necessarily know your university has a really good program for engineering, but they don't know what university to search for. So sometimes we've seen them just type in maybe engineering or psychology, things like that. And once they type in engineering, they'll see right away which universities have provided sort of some content that's related to engineering. So for example, we have UCLan here about aerospace engineering. So the student can take a look at the video that UCLan has posted, as well as view the university profile in Cialfo, apply if they are a direct apply partner, and read a little bit about the aerospace engineering at UCLan. Of course, it's quite short. It depends on what the university wants to provide, but typically we recommend something a bit short and sweet because we know students aren't always reading the lengthiest sort of things. But yeah, that's just an idea that some students do sort of this search process, not necessarily looking into a university right away. They might start a little bit further back. So this is a really good area for universities should you want to have different ways of showing yourself to students. This leads us to the university search, which is something we'll also be talking about that students use. And Michelle will also be showing this a little bit as well. But for my focus, it would be typically about our Sage bot or our chat bot called Sage. So when students go to the university search tool, they can search the universities by name, use any of our filters here. So for example, if I'm looking at a university, let's just have an example. I'll be led to that university. Typically, it's shown as a card, but which based on our research, students seem to like something short and sweet again. But students, of course, always have that option to do it as a list view if they want more information at one go. But typically, they would go to the profile of the university where they can see all these pieces of information. They can also add it to any of their lists, as well as connect with the university. We've seen that students want to, or we've seen research that students are moving towards more independent and interactive sort of research, which is where Sage comes in. And so Sage it's a really popular tool with students, and it takes answers from the internet, and we try to centralize that information because we know that there is so much information out there. It's a minefield full of different pieces of information for students and counselors, so it can be a little bit overwhelming. So this is one way we try to centralize it. So for example, you can use any of the frequently asked questions that we've suggested for students to use, but typically, for example, because Michelle is here, so we can also ask, does SUNY Buffalo State accept the Turkish diploma? So we would also take those answers from the internet, typically from the university's website or other sources. And we would tell them, this is how they would take it. Of course, we still suggest that students work directly with their counselors, but this gives a good idea to students to understand what do they need to prepare for when they're applying for this specific university. I've seen some students also ask something more personal to them, like, is there support for international students? So we also have questions like that, I think, that are really relevant for students at this time where, they're looking for a lot more diversity. They're trying to look for peers to feel comfortable for, what would be their home away from home for the next 3 to 4 years. Any questions so far about University Search and Sage?
We do have a question that's come in, Kath, and maybe we can
Okay.
just tackle it right now. The question is,
Sure.
how do institutions appear in the best categories?
Sorry, which section was that? The best categories? You mean
It
the
may have been in,
university fit?
I think, yeah, it may have been in relation when you see like the different responses collate. What can institutions do, or how is it driving that? Maybe it's the UniFit score there.
So the
What
UniFit
factors
score
go
is
in there?
actually based on the students' actions on the platform as well as their information. So it's not necessarily what a university can do to stand out. It's actually more from a student perspective if they're a match for that university based on their interests, based on whether or not they've searched these types of universities before, and if they've filled out their academic section of their profile.
Awesome, great. And there is just a follow-up question to that. How can institutions check how they appear to students?
I think that might be a question for the university side, I think.
And certainly,
Yeah.
yeah,
Hi,
I mean,
I'm
certainly,
happy to come in and answer that one. Just get in touch with us. We'll send you a PDF copy of your profile, and you can request any changes. I'm Dominique, by the way. I'm not supposed to be here.
thanks, Dom. You're my superpower. I appreciate that. Awesome. Sorry, Kath, go ahead. Appreciate your
Yeah, no
flexibility
worries.
there.
But in summation, the university search is really the area where counselors and students do their research and list building, as well as use Sage or Cialfo's chatbot to do their interactive research. I'll be handing it over to a very seasoned counselor and a good friend, Michelle Deschang of Hisar, to see how she uses it with her students at her school.
Thank you so much, Kath and Ryan, for the introductions. I'm really impressed with the Sage tool. I don't use it often enough. I need to start using it more. It's really impressive. But it's great to have everyone here today. I think, Kath, can you move to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Just as an introduction about Hisar School. So I've just started my 13th year at Hisar School as Director of International College Counseling. And we're a fairly new school in the Istanbul landscape. We were founded in 1996. We're a K through 12 school, and we graduated our first class in 2008 and have grown to right now where our high school population is just over 550 students. So about 130 students per grade level. And next slide, please. So today I just want to cover a few topics, talking about Cialfo priorities and how we use Cialfo differently for each grade level, how we manage students and their Cialfo profile, so how we keep them on track each year. Also how we use Cialfo in terms of building our lists for universities and of universities for students and helping students research and search and build their own lists or add to their lists. Also in terms of organizing visits, we use Cialfo to organize and map our visits. And there's a great reporting feature that I love, which helps us a lot in terms of keeping track of our data, which in turn then helps us in advising future students. So next slide, please. In terms of using Cialfo for each grade level, I'll start with the oldest population, the grade 12 students. By the time students are in grade 12, we hope that they're the applying alpacas. So we want to see that they have a strong and robust long list, short list, and have moved some of their applications into the applying list in Cialfo, and I'll show you that a little bit later. We also ask our students when they're at the end of grade 11 to request letters of recommendations from teachers. And we begin managing that process when they start grade 12 and the CDocs feature. So there's a feature where students can request letters from teachers directly. We actually have them request letters through us, as not all of our teachers are English speakers, and we do the work for the teachers in our counseling office. So I know some schools, the teachers directly use Cialfo themselves and upload their own letters, whereas we use Cialfo a little bit differently in that we have our students request the letters of recommendations directly from teachers, and then we upload them for our students and teachers into the Cialfo platform. Our students can then see, once we've uploaded the letters, which teachers have completed their letters of recommendation, so they know that they're on track. I don't know why students always seem to be worried about when is did the teacher send my letter yet? Have they written my letter yet? So we assure you they can be assured logging into their Cialfo account that those letters are complete and uploaded. In grades 10 and 11, we really focus on building the student profile. So we want them to be constantly logging into Cialfo to update test scores. If they're taking the SAT or the IELTS or the TOEFL, they can upload their scores there. If they're taking AP or IB exams, they can upload those scores. So it's a great way for them to see all of their testing in one spot. They update their GPA regularly at the start of each year. So we're on a 100-point scale, and students can use, as I know other schools have different grade point scales, so you can adjust it to whatever your school uses, but our students enter their GPAs, which then helps them see where they stand in terms with previous students in a scattergram, which I'll show you also a little bit later. There's a great activities section where students can keep track of their activities. Again, I think students often wait until grade 12 to think about what activities they've participated in over the past 3 years, and they have a hard time remembering. So we encourage them to keep those up to date frequently in Cialfo so that they know what activities they have, and to update things in their student profile. So in grade 9, we hold a launch event where students, as Kath showed you, go through a series of questions to answer and set up their profile. Those questions can be updated. So maybe a student changes their mind about the country they want to apply to or the field that they want to study. So they can constantly go in and update their profile, which I think is great in helping them kind of see where they were and where they're going to and make that progression. So we really try to work with them over the course of 4 years, not just waiting until the senior year, but help them build up to that process. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you a live demo here of how students can update their preferences for accurate recommendations. So as Kath showed you, I liken it to Netflix all the time with students. I say the more you use the profile, the more you update the profile, the better the recommendations will be, the better the fit will be. So that really does work. How we get them to utilize the guides and the videos and how they can explore their careers. So this student, for example, and this is his profile page. So you can see there's a lot of personal information that they enter when they set up their Cialfo account, which they can then later update anytime they need to. They put in their application details. We assign them groups. So this is something that we create. Other schools can create this too, and your groups can be anything. We like to set up groups in terms of their applications, where they're applying to, what countries, whether or not they're applying early, restrictive, what citizenship they have. Sometimes when we're holding events, we do a closed session of the IELTS exam. We put them in groups for that also, so that at any time if we wanted to filter a group of students, maybe we want to send them a broadcast or an email about something, we can easily do that. So we use Cialfo groups a lot to put students in categories so we can easily identify them. And this is the area of university preferences where Kath was showing you, where they open this and fill this out at the beginning when they do participate in the launch, but that they can go back and update at any time. So they include information about not only the location, but the financial information, what kind of budget they have. They've talked about it with their parents, how important scholarships are to them, what kind of community or an environment are they looking for in a university. If they play any sport, is that something that's important to them? Demographics, any other important factors. So there's a lot of information that goes into this that they can go back and constantly update. And I'll just show you, this is the test section I was talking about, as well as the extracurricular section where students can add their extracurriculars. And then at the end, there's a great area at the top here. If students would like to create a CV, they can use that to create a CV. But just to show you, once they update their profile, so this would be their platform. So thank goodness he's a 12th grader and he's at the applying alpaca stage. You can see the strength of his profile, the Discovery Center. So if you wanted to look at careers, study guides, articles, these are all right here. You show his recommendations. So this also allows me to edit recommendations. For some reason I wanted to add a preference or wanted to change something for him, I could do that here. Trending videos. So I often watch these with some of my students. You know, I'll ask them to look at them. We look at them together. Suggested careers. So this is the area where he's filled out information about himself. There's also an assessment where they can do like a personality test, and that will direct some of the career choices as well. And then guides to studying abroad. So different countries. He's interested in California. He's got schools on his list in Philadelphia, San Diego. So these come up for him as his cards. And then, as Cass showed you earlier, other latest articles that help guide students. So I think the next slide, Cass, is the university search and list building, which I also want to do a demo on.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So, Wiki, I'll show you again. As Kath showed you, you really can, there's so many different filters you can search for in terms of areas of study, majors. So maybe a student knows they want to study business, but they're not sure of a specific major. By the time they're in 12th grade, they might have a very specific major, cryptocurrency, all sorts of things that students come up with. So they can put that in here, entrance requirements, environment, admissions requirements, so they can set their filters. And then you would apply the filters. Something that we use here, let's see if I can show you. So when a student is in grade 12, I like to use this as kind of their applying list. And you can change the fields that you can see. So you can choose what the students can choose and counselors can choose this. So you can choose if you want to see application deadlines, what portals they use to apply for. The two I really love to use are My School GPA and SAT My School. So those two fields will show Yeet. His GPA right here is a 92.14. And this shows you the average GPA of the students from Hisar School that were admitted to these universities in the last 5 years. So this gives them a real sense of whether a university is a target, a likely, a reach. So they can really use this to kind of map out and ensure that they have a balanced list. They can also look at their SAT score compared to the average SAT score of our Hisar students that were admitted to these universities in the last 5 years. So I really love this feature. And then also the application deadlines. Rather than going to each university website and trying to figure out which universities offer early action, early decision, is it November 1st, November 15th? This is such an important tool because they can see right here when the deadlines are. And then they can also download this so we can export it as an Excel spreadsheet if they want to save it, share it with their parents, share it with their friends. We don't advise, but you know, they can really get in and share this information with whoever they want. So I have this filtered just for the applying list, but you can also add long list and short list. And I'll show you the bookmarks area, which is where students really build their long list, short list, and applying list. So this is just the cards, but then again, you can click on compare. And it gives you a great, it goes back to this and has filtered. So you have all three. So students can use this really just at the beginning stages of their long list to identify which ones they want to move forward from their long list to their short list to their applying list. And then I also wanted to show on the universities, so when students have their, let's say they want to, like Northeastern University. This is for Cal showed you earlier. They can do research on the university. They can watch videos of the campus, look at what courses are offered. And then the other feature that we like to use, we add information. We have a representative. We add the representative's name so students can click on that and email the representative directly. Of course, if a representative doesn't want us to share their email address with students, there's an area we can mark do not share so that only the counselors can see that. We take notes. So anytime a university visits our school, we'll take a note from the visit and we share those with students. So if a student misses the visit, they can go back to the note section and see what was discussed. And then this is a scattergram. So this is more of a visual way, I think, for students to see where they fall on a scattergram. And again, where Hisar students in the last 5 years who applied to Northeastern have fallen. So they can kind of get a real visual sense of whether or not a university is a safety likely target or reach for them. This is the average GPA and the average SAT scores. This information is also shared with students and parents so they can see in the past 5 years how many students from Hisar have applied to Northeastern. how many were admitted, how many were denied, the percentages, so they can see that it's become increasingly competitive. And then for us as counselors, students can't see this, but we can actually see recent students who've applied. So if we wanted to, for example, yesterday I had a senior ask me for a contact of students who were attending a university. So I can go in and click here. I can see which of our alumni are attending Northeastern University, so I can put them in touch with them. So it really is such a great tool in terms of helping us keep track of data. The next slide is about our university visits. So we use Cialfo visits to keep track of the visits we have. So we add them here so that students and parents can see them scheduled, which universities are coming to Hisar, what time. We also use them if universities are doing public events that are open to Hisar students in Istanbul. We add those here as well with any details if the student clicks on it. Students register for the visits, so we ask that students register for any visit that they want to attend 24 hours in advance. Cialfo is very flexible. It lets us adjust the registration deadline. If we don't want to have a registration process, we don't have to. So there's lots of flexibility with the system. But this is a great way. Then we also keep track of who attended the visits. So after the university has visited, we go back and then update the attendees. So we can at any time run a list of who attended the visit. If a university didn't have a QR code or didn't have kids fill out a form, but then later on want a list of the students who attended, we can provide that for them. So it's a great system to have. We don't use the feature. I know some people at Cialfo don't like this. We don't use the feature where universities schedule the visit through Cialfo, only because our schedule is so flexible. So many high schools limit the number of hours that universities can visit. Our teachers are great in allowing students to take permission from them to get out of class to attend a university visit. So we really can have universities visit at any point during the school year or school day. So we prefer that universities write to us directly. And that also, I think, helps us build a relationship, a networking relationship with the university colleagues. So that's how we use university visits and fairs. And then the last slide, it's just again about our data. So there's a great reports feature in Cialfo where we use filters. I can also use this if I want to see how many students are applying to Boston University this year. I can run this in the report section. Mostly I use this though at the beginning of each year, update where the previous class is relating to and update their acceptances so that then it prompts us to update our school profile with our university matriculations and acceptances. So hopefully, I know that was a lot of information, but hopefully some good information. And we're happy to take questions.
Is it important for universities to be engaging with students who are in grades, particularly 10 and 11? Obviously, grade 12 speaks for itself, but what are some of the important points for universities to keep in mind when communicating or engaging with younger students in those earlier grades?
Sure, that's a great question. We do think it's important. We start advising students in grade 9. We split students alphabetically, so everybody in our office works with about a fifth of each class. So we have a good mix, and we want to be consistent in working with the same students all the way through 4 years to build that relationship. And I think for the university colleagues, it's the same. The earlier you start working with students, or you start, getting them engaging with students, the more credibility you have. And I think you build that relationship and that trust. So, sometimes we have students who've been attending a visit, particular university visit, since they were in 10th grade, and they're so excited and they know the representative when they come back the next year, or they've read something about it on Cialfo and it was really interesting. So I do think it's important to give those 10th graders especially that kind of introduction to just in general the difference between a UK university, a US university, a university in Hong Kong. The timelines can be so completely different in terms of the application process, so it gets them kind of used to that, those details, and so that they can differentiate what their interests are, and helps them do their self-reflection and think about what they want to do.
There was another question that came in. Do universities who work with Cialfo get to see when students add them to a long or short list? And can they interact with them? I'll actually tackle that one. The short answer is yes. So these would be referred to as Cialfo connections. The easiest way to explain it is that they're highly qualified leads. I think the key difference is that a lead is someone that you want to get in touch with. Maybe they took a test that you accept for admission, or they fit some objective that you have from an enrollment management standpoint. A connection is someone who wants to follow along with and literally connect with and communicate with you. So students give permission for right fit universities that they proactively indicate interest in to connect and communicate with them. That could be adding to a long list, shortening that long list into a short list, and then even indicating that they're applying in terms of their profile status as they move through that process that Michelle had outlined, and in many other schools around the world. There's also a standalone Get Connected button that is on the profile that Kath had shown. And those are ways that students open themselves up to a range of functionality, keeping informed of any content updates that might come through to that page. If the university will be visiting their area, they're going to stay notified of that. But it's also a great opportunity for you as a college or university to reach out to them, to enroll them in an appropriate campaign that can help connect them with answers to specific questions that they may have. And this is one of the main touch points that we utilize in university partnerships. I think it's probably as good a time as any as we close our session just to invite you to continue the conversation with us. If you are interested in learning more and engaging with our global community of students as well as counselors, you can either reach out to myself, or you might know my colleague Rachel, who very recently capably hosted our Explore platform webinar about a month ago. We have Jason Cook, who's in the UK or continental Europe. We have Mira, if you're based in Canada. We even have Dom popping out of the woodwork to answer questions. And so we've got a great team here at Cialfo. If you're not sure, or if you're more of a QR code person, you will have noted the QR code on the left side of the screen. You can simply open your phone's camera app and literally just point it at the code on the screen. It will lead you to a very simple contact form so that you can share some basic information with us about what you'd like to chat about, and we would be happy to reach out and follow up with you individually. Maybe you'd like to know how many connections you have currently or where they're coming from. Maybe you'd like to explore other partnership opportunities to engage with this community. We certainly hope to hear from you. In any case, I want to thank you for your interest in Cialfo, and I want to thank Kath and Michelle for joining us this morning and for all of the work that they do on behalf of students, because after all, students are the ones that make this field so fun and rewarding to work in. So we really appreciate your time and interest. Hope to hear from you soon. And until then, this concludes the webinar, and take care.